Welcome to Organize Zen Now. My name is Janie Downey. Thank you so much for joining me here today. Organize Zen is a concept that we are under stress from a lot of things in our life, and that by getting organized, but in a Zen way, you can help deal with that stress in a way that works well for you, that makes you happy, that helps you get to the work you really want to do, and just sort of get off the treadmill and say, I'm going to take a little break. I'm going to figure out what I want to do with my life, and I'm going to figure out ways that work well for me to get that done. If this talk is helpful, please like, please share, and please subscribe on YouTube so that other folks on YouTube can help find the same content. All right, so I'm doing a series right now on taking care of your precious self. So I've been talking about food. What I'm going to talk about today are really additives. So I was talking about additives in food and knowing and understanding what's in the food that you think you're going to eat and maybe don't eat once you see what's actually in it. But the additives I'm going to talk about today are kind of hidden additives in our life. And they are around us all of the time, but they're in different ways. And there's 4 big ones that I'm going to talk about. The first one is lotions. So a lot of us, dry skin, you put on face lotion at night. I think the creepiest one to put on your skin is suntan lotion. And here's why. So if you look and see what's in any of those lotions, decide, is that something that I would eat? If it's not something that you would eat, you are putting that on your largest organ in your body. Your skin is meant to be absorbent. So whatever is in that is absorbing into your skin, and whatever additives are in that are becoming part of your body. And nothing's harmless. There's nothing that you think, well, really, it can't be that bad. We do a lot of things over time. Things build up in our body over time. And if we're already stressed out and you're trying to stress your body out more, you're not trying to, but if you're doing it, if you're putting a lot of additives in and you're making body work super hard, it adds up over time and it makes you feel icky. And then it's hard to get to your best work if you're feeling bad. So lotions are important to look at. Would you eat it? If you wouldn't eat it, don't put it on. There's certain things. It's not great to get a lot of sun either. But think about that. Can you go out and wear a light but long-sleeved shirt and pants? Can you not go out in the middle of the day? Can you wear a big broad-rimmed hat to keep the sun off your face? There are ways to get out of exposing yourself to the sun that are healthier for you than slathering yourself in a lotion that could be toxic. And it's interesting now, there's some places that ban wearing lotions if you're in a water-sensitive area because it's also hurting the animals and plants that are around you. So it's not great. You don't want it on your body if you can avoid it. So minimize and read and see if you can figure out what it is that you're putting on your body. The second is what's in your clothing and in your household items, things that actually touch your skin. So every time you do the wash, you're putting in some kind of detergent that has chemical additives in it. So I advocate for finding the most natural sources and using very little of them. There's interesting studies on that our clothes end up with so much soap in them. You don't really even need a whole lot of soap to wash them because they already have a lot of soap in them that doesn't come out. The big culprits for that to me are things that you add that have that lovely scent to them. So scents are chemicals, right? And the more chemically something is, the more additives that are in it. So you may think, oh, this dryer sheet smells really good, or I'm going to add something that makes, the ads will say, oh, this makes your clothes smell fresh for 2 weeks. Well, clothes probably shouldn't smell fresh for 2 weeks. So whatever that additive is, you're covering up what's actually the dirt in your clothes. If you can just simply get them clean without a whole lot of additives, you're going to be a whole lot better off than continuing to add things to your system that just add up over time. The third thing are scented candles, and people hate it when I mention this about scented candles because people like scented candles and they think, oh, it smells great and it makes my house smell great. But the chemicals that are in there are something that you probably wouldn't eat. They're not regulated as a food, but you're breathing them, you're touching them. And as much as you think they smell great in your house, they're again covering up maybe a smell that's not there that you should be smelling. And just that amount of chemicals isn't great to be around. And if you ever notice, like if you just have one candle, you open it up out of the package and it's pretty strong. And sometimes it'll make your eyes burn a little bit. If you're at a mall or an enclosed space and you go by a store that sells those candles, they make my eyes actually water. It makes my throat kind of tighten up. I feel like a tickle in it. And you think, well, it's just one, right? But if it's just one and then you have 4 in your house and you're exposing yourself to the burning scent of candles over time, it's just more stuff for your body to process. And little bits of anything are not bad, but we don't know how these things add up in our bodies over time. So if everything in your life has a scent to it, that's not great for you. And then candles, I love the look of a candle. I think a burning flame is an agent of change. And you think about celebrations that we have, weddings and birthday parties where, you're lighting a candle. It's a significant change. Fire changes things. But there are candles that are unscented, and then candles that are like beeswax actually clean stuff out of the air. So you're getting cleaner air without a strong scent out of it. You still have the beauty of a small fire right in front of you. So look for things that are unscented and just expose yourself less on that. All right. The fourth big area, and this is probably the trickiest for most people, is medicines and supplements. So I'm not a big advocate of putting anything in my body that I don't understand what's in it. And who could possibly understand what's in medicine today, right? It's just so chemical based. So if your doctor's prescribing medicine, I'm sure that's great, but I would question it. Every medicine, every supplement has side effects. So don't just trust. Don't trust to say, I'm sure it's fine. The trouble I have with meds is if you take one, you can read the side effects and you can read long time usage. You can read what conflicts it might have within your system. What we don't have studies on, and which we will never have studies on, are what happens when you take 2 different meds. What happens when you take 3? What happens when you mix those with a supplement? So we don't know how those clash within your system, and everybody's system is super different. So you have to look at that for yourself. So you're going to, whatever you're putting into your body, figure out what's in it if you can. And when you can't directly with medicine, read through the side effects, so potential side effects. So what I think is interesting with that is usually it's a huge long sheet and they'll say, this is possible, this is not likely, and here's an extreme example. But if you have an idea of what something could be doing to your system, when something happens, you're going to be much more likely to go, maybe it's that med that I'm taking. And otherwise, you're just going to feel bad and you're not quite sure why, because we're very trusting when it comes to medicine. And I'm saying be less trusting and figure out what's in it before you take it. There's also just coding on things like supplements. So I bought a supplement one time and I changed brands, not intentionally, but I just got a different kind. And the new one I got, I think it was calcium, but it was like bright pink. And I was just like, wait, what's in this? And then I read through the ingredient list and it had 3 colors of food coloring in it. And I don't like food coloring in my system. So there's no purpose in that. It's just to make them decorative and festive. And here's a nice little thing. They look like M&Ms. So why not eat those? But there are colorings in that, and that's tricky. The other thing that I think is super hard with meds is, besides the fact that we don't know what's in them, is that doctors aren't really set up to unsubscribe you from medicine. So they're giving you a subscription and saying, you have a problem and here's what you probably want to take. And people can be on meds for a long, long time. Things that help with acid reflux or blood pressure. And if you change your lifestyle, you eat differently, you're getting more exercise, anytime you lose weight, your blood changes, you need to reevaluate those. So my stepmother was taking med for like 20 years. And then as she got older, she was like starting to have these really weird, dreadful symptoms, and they couldn't figure out what it was. And then one of her doctors was like, oh my gosh, you've been taking this one med for 20 years. Stop immediately, because it had just built up in her system. So again, there wasn't a good way to regulate that. You feel bad, you go to a doctor, they prescribe something. But when you're feeling okay, how do you get back out of that? So maybe give yourself a timeline with that to say, I'm going to take this for a while and then I need to reevaluate, assess, and see if that's still working for you. It's also tricky on your liver. So medicines are metabolized through your liver. So if you're taking one med or you're taking a series of meds, your liver gets the same workout from all of those. So same kind of problem with the things running into each other. If they're all building up in your liver and your liver's already stressed out because life is kind of stressful, you could be taxing out your liver. And in the long run, end up with a whole different type of an issue than whatever it was that you were taking that first med for. a lot of meds also, so like heartburn medicines, are meant for short-term use. So if you're taking them on a regular basis and you read, it'll say, don't take this on a long-term basis because it's gonna lose its effectiveness as you go, and it could cover up worse things like a cancer that's building up in your esophagus. So you're taking it because you want to feel better. I would advocate, don't eat the foods that are giving you acid. Figure out what's doing that, what you're eating and what you're drinking, rather than take a med that sits on top of it that's meant to be short term. You're taking it all the time, and maybe you feel good short term, but you might be building up a bigger issue within your system because you've just been on it too long. And the last thing is, as you get older, your metabolism changes, your weight changes, how you process things just changes. So if you've been taking something for a while and you haven't talked to a doctor about it, now is a great time. I don't care what age you are, but we are getting older, no matter where you started. We're getting older, and always a great time to sit down with your doctor and say, here's what I'm taking. What exactly are these doing? Could there be potential conflicts? And they're doing new studies all the time. So there may be something that seemed fine when you started to take it, and now there's a new study out that would say, oh, don't mix it with this. And the reverse of that, to say, this is something that we were cautious about in the past, but now we know more about it. And then, I'm just skeptical on a lot of things, but the more you know, the better off you are. If your body's different, you're the only one who's going to know, this worked really well for me, this did not work well for me. You got to advocate for yourself. You need to ask a lot of questions. And then, as always, to start an activity out of this, I would say, let's make a list this week, okay? And say, what chemicals might I possibly be exposed to right now in my life? So you're going to think about lotions and soaps, and I mentioned clothing, but soaps that are in your hair, soaps that you use on your skin. What's in those? Do you know what's in those? And soaps are cool. There's a lot of natural soaps that are out there, more so than you're going to find like with detergents. You're going to think about the candles that you have maybe in your house if you're burning on a regular basis, and then go through your meds and your supplements. You should have a list of those somewhere anyway, just as a safety piece. But what's in them? Read the ingredients. Read any side effects, and then see if you can reduce your exposure somewhere in there. You got your list, and then think, what's a baby step I could take to reduce my exposure to chemicals and additives that are in and around me? And then, as always, just track and see how you feel with that. And then I'm going to close. Usually I open with a quote, but I'm going to close with a quote because I just think this one ties in such a funny way. So this is from Ralph Waldo Emerson. And this is his quote: "What lies behind us and what lies before us are only tiny matters compared to what lies within us." So I'm taking that in a literal sense today. So I'm talking about, it doesn't matter what you've done in the past, it matters what you're trying to get done, which is what lies before you, but what lies within you. And if you're not feeling well, it's very hard to get to the rest of the good stuff in your life. So observe, question, decide, advocate for yourself, and see if you can take a baby step to clear up something as far as what you're adding to some stress level in your body. All right, I hope this helps. If it does, please like, please share, please subscribe, and please come back, and I'll talk to you some more unsolicited advice. All right, bye.